about 7:30 in the morning. Normally the only time I'm getting up this early is to go to work, or if I don't really want to get up, which, yeah, that's work again. You know, I'm just not a morning person. Getting up though for a track day. I'm on my way right now. Heading to Nelson Ledges Road Course in, what city? Garrettsville, Ohio. An older track, definitely showing its age. Under new management, so it's a little bit more improved. But anyways, the point is, I'm in a car here that is probably one of the craziest cars I've ever driven. This is a 2004 Corvette Z06. If you can't hear or it is a little noisy, that's because the Z06 comes with F1 supercar tires that are noisier, less sound deadening, and an exhaust note that's much louder than your standard Corvette. So it's seriously legit when you say this car is meant for the track. As a kid, this was sort of my dream car. When I say as a kid, I more like when I was 18 years oldish, around that age. I've got my GPS here because I really don't know where this place is. So I have to follow the instructions here. Anyways, this car, like, I was really, really excited when this came out because it's just the ultimate Corvette. It's super fast. It's better than the regular Corvette. It doesn't seem so, 80-year-old man buying this car. It just seems like a legit player in the world. So that's why I liked it. First time I drove one, I left class in college because I found a used 2001, and I went and test drove it. Couldn't do much, but that was the first time I ever really got behind the wheel of a C5 or even a Z06 for that matter. The time I really, really, really drove one of these legit, if you've never heard of this is a really interesting story, was at the Auto Show in Motion. GM held an event back in the early 2000s, we'll say 2003, 2004, where you could actually go up. Now I'm going to take that back. It was actually 2004 for sure. You could actually go up to an empty parking lot, like it was a big parking lot. And they had every car that they owned or they made or produced, and you could just go test drive them for free. And they also had competitor cars to compete, so you could compare. They gave you lunch, they gave you a free t-shirt, and you got to leave. And it was all free. One of the cars there was a full-on road course with these Z06s. So, and it wasn't like, oh, let's just, putz around. No, there was a guy sitting here yelling at you, telling you, go faster, fast, fast, fast. He told you when to apply gas, when to apply brakes. He told you pretty much how to drive the car. And it was like a topping out, maxing out the RPMs in first through fourth. It was seriously legit and just hammering through turns. So that was my first real experience in this car. And from then on, it was just like, wow, I really, really want one of these someday. I just loved it. It was such a cool car for what it was able to do. Then my dad went and bought one last year. He bought this one. It's a 2004. Has about 6,000 miles on the clock. Black with black and red interior. You can tell the previous owner was one of those guys that just parked it and stared at it and drove it to golfing or Sunday dinner or something like that. It is legit mint condition. We even have the build sheet and the window sticker framed in this like thick laminate. So it was a serious car from a serious person who, I don't know what happened to him. He's from Florida though. So from there, my history with this car kind of got to the point where it was that whole thing. They always say on Top Gear, don't ever drive your boyhood idol car, the car you love, because you're going to be disappointed. And I really was. My dad, said, here, go drive it for the day. Sorry. He said, it's go take it out and film some stuff. And I came back, and it's kind of how I feel right now. I don't really like it driving it just around. I mean, I like it, I do. You can't say you dislike it. You're in a Corvette with 400 horsepower. How much can you dislike it? But being Z06, it is noisier, it is rougher, it does have loud poppy exhaust, which is cool. I mean, don't get me wrong on this. But I have a pretty heavily modified Camaro SS, which I no connectivity for a cell phone or an iPod. It doesn't have Bluetooth or an aux input. So that'd be really cool to get one of those from One Factory Radio, plug it in there, boom, you got Bluetooth. The shifter's really long. I mean, you can see I really have to move my arm to, row through the gears, which that's an easy fix too. The seats, to me, they're not bad. They're really cushy, like pillowy in the center, right in my mid-upper back, like right, yeah, they're really like balloony, and that's fine. They're not awful, but they could be improved. And you'll see me at the track here when I film inside here. You're fighting to hold on, definitely. Driving to this track is always kind of interesting because you're out on these 2-lane country roads in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes there's construction, sometimes there's big potholes, stuff that really isn't meant for these kind of cars. You see the cars that are coming here, and you're like, A, how did you find it? B, how did you make it there without having a problem? But it's kind of a cool place because you're driving like, out here in the middle of nowhere, and then boom, there's a racetrack. So it's kind of neat to actually see. And then you pass something like that in New Camaro, and you're like, you wonder, do you even know this is out here? It's kind of this like word of mouth type of track, and they do have a website, they advertise, but it is kind of a smaller thing that almost scares people away going to the racetrack with their car. The other thing that's cool about coming to the track on a Sunday, and you can call me out on this, that's fine. I think it's very funny that right now, most people, the average person, is in church right now. It's very funny to me. And then in the fall, when these happen, the other half of the world seems like they're watching football. So when you do this on a Sunday in the fall, you feel like you're in somewhat unique company because the people there are just like you. They're skipping football games, they're skipping church, and they're kind of just like, you know what? Today's my day. I'm going to the racetrack to sort things out in my head, to sort of basically go, risk some fenders and some wheels, some curb rash. So kind of cool to see. This is Memorial Day weekend. I'm filming a lot of stuff. I still have the Colorado in the garage. Couldn't really bring that to the track, but the odds may be pretty low turnout, I'm hoping, today, mainly from Memorial Day. The Indy 500 is today, so you might have some race fans actually staying home today. And of course, Sunday church crowd. They could be at the place of worship this morning. So we'll see. Should be interesting. For all you sports fans out there, we're actually in Southington, Ohio. We're close to it. Gonna drive kind of by it, which is actually the former home of heavyweight champ Mike Tyson. He has the internet famous abandoned mansion out here, which it's got the big gates that say Mike Tyson on it. And apparently now it's being repurposed by a church. I don't know though who or what, but anyways, that's right down the road from here. Kind of funny.
Mom and Mr. Peabody, they go to Florence.
Oh, really? Ask Joe about Florence. I did Rome and all Southern.
So today, literally nobody showed up. There's like 10 cars here at best. I'm sitting out here by myself waiting for Group A cars to show up. The only reason I'm running Group A is because it's this group or beginners. So we'll see what's what here. Literally just sitting here. It's kind of interesting. You paid your registration fee and nobody is here, which is pretty exciting for me at least, because I like having the track to myself. they are kind of freaking out a little bit. They're saying they cannot survive with this little turnout. But I don't know. It is Memorial Day weekend. It is Indy 500 day. I called it on the drive here. I said it's not going to be anybody here. So we'll see. I'm about to just turn the car off because this is stupid. Third and final call for Group A, and I'm still the only one sitting in the pit lane here. Apparently nobody wants to drive today. 1:30-ish or so. Track day is over. Today was interesting because there was a total of maybe 10 cars there. And like I said earlier in the morning, I kind of expected that just due to what was going on, holiday weekend, the whole deal. But I mean, it's nice for the driver because nobody's out there. You can kind of do what you want. You can space it out. The Corvette did what it was supposed to do. Ran flawlessly, no issues. Was turning low 120 lap times when it was kind of being pushed. You know, this not being my car, I do worry always in the back of my head. You know, you don't want to stuff this thing into the tire. So, but you know, it ran great. It's just unbelievably. It's a really, really cool car. It just is. It looks neat sitting there. It runs great. It's comfortable. I'm sitting here now. I have my climate control set to roughly 70 degrees. I have Bose speakers if I need, you know, to listen to some music on the way home, and it's just comfortable. And I'm averaging 25 miles a gallon now driving home. So overall, a really, really good car for mixed use purposes. But like I said, if you're not going to be somebody that's going to be tracking it and you don't care about bragging rights, the regular Corvette might be best for you. It is a little bit more comfortable, but really, I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up on what you would want. Personally, if it was me and I was buying one of these, I would hands down get the Z06 because I'd be tracking it randomly, and honestly, it's just a much cooler car. A lot more went into this than the regular Corvette as far as thinner glass, sound deadening removed, suspension work, brakes, everything. There's a lot going on with this. And when you drive like this, you kind of forget what you just did, if that makes sense. I mean, this thing can be a monster on the track, but it can come home and take you home in a docile, comfortable way. So, Z06 at Nelson Ledge is definitely a success. Didn't see any major wrecks today. The track was as good as it's ever been as far as smoothness goes. They did raise their prices a bit. They didn't honor my buy one, get one coupon, which is a bummer due to management change. But overall, it's a cool place. Where else can you go over in the Akron-Cleveland area for under $200? Go drive around at very high speeds in a controlled environment and not really risk too much. From what everybody says, it's a low braking track, which means you don't have to use your brakes too much, so you're not going to cook your brakes after a whole track day. You're basically going to use a bunch of fuel and some of your tires out. Some of the cars that were there, I saw an older Mustang, a guy in a Civic who was legit. There was an Audi RS7 there, which four-door sedan, like $100,000+ price tag. Some other stuff there too. STI. Met some nice people today. So overall, a good day. No wrecks, and when you can drive home from a track day and not have any major issues, and the car's still running, that's a good day. And I'm the kind of person, I sort of stop after 6 laps or so, 7 laps, and sort of just to kind of regather myself, because I start to get a little cocky, just a little bit, and you start to get too confident in your abilities. But if you think about it and you slow yourself down, you can have a good time going and doing this. So, Hoagie'sGarage.com, going to have some more on the Corvette, obviously, as I get it randomly to borrow from my dad to film. But definitely a very cool car for the track, and it was such a bargain now. What they cost now is just unbelievable, considering you're 2 models behind now on the Z06. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope my track footage came out good, because that's going to be smacked in the middle somewhere there. Probably already watched it, or you skipped it. And if you watched this long, thank you very much. So give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Leave a comment if you have a favorite track, if you've been to Nelson's.